Is the theory of relativity and time non-calculus version. I was told the calculus version was too complicated for people, and really turned a lot of people off to my idea. And my mom only gave me 10 minutes to explain it to her, so I couldn't explain calculus and my theory at the same time. So what I did is I made up new math operations in order to articulate what's going on. Um, and I'm going to start off with real basic symbols, like real basic math operations, and then show how it expands. So I already have this written out, so I might pause for a second. So first, I started with like less than, greater than, like we have a smaller side, and a larger side. Real basic, and that applies to both of them. Um, and then we also have positive and negative. So I like to say that negative is the opposite of positive, because just saying that it's negative is like it's got negative connotations. It's not, like, just a different way of thinking about it, different perspective. Um, and now, however, the new concepts, the shape is the symbol's like this, which is actually the Freemason symbol turned on its side. Someone else pointed that out to me. I didn't pick up on that at first, but it's like what came to me when I was trying to figure out a way of explaining this to someone who doesn't understand calculus. So what this symbol represents is the overall value remains equal, but the variables can have different values from one moment to the next. So the overall value remains equal. Again, sorry for my bad handwriting. The overall value remains equal, but the variables can have different values from one moment to the next. This is my attempt of creating a flow within arithmetic. So the example, an example of this would be like 11, then like, oh shit, excuse my language, equals 1, 10. Now that's like basic addition right there, but like the next, when you look at the 11, like you don't necessarily know what these are, but when you look at these, then you figure out what the 11 is. Um, so then another example could be like 11 equals, like it could go from this to this. Like it's a time stamp in a sense. It's like you capture it at that moment of it being that, or you capture it at the moment of it being this. But it remains equal to 11 the whole time. Like that doesn't change, but the variables do change. And now the next concept is adding arbitrary an arbitrary upper and lower limit to the less than, or to this operation. So like this is as low as it can possibly go and as high as it can possibly go, and it's low, like it's inverted here. I wrote it inverted for a reason, to help explain the next operation that I came up with. So it's like so these are just arbitrary upper limits to what they can be. Now the next one is just like that. I call that the inverter, and it's um, it's hard to explain, obviously, because no one's tried to explain it before. But it's like you have, like, there's a switch that occurs, and there has to, because in my previous videos, if you watch them, you'll see there's an inversion where one side goes to negative infinity to 0, and the other is 0 to positive infinity. So that's what this equation is meant to symbolize, that. And then I wrote out, so that's, hold on. So those are the operations going on, and how this works out with my equation is one. Well, I'm going to switch these inverted signs. Do I? No, I had it right. Yeah. And then you have cosine. And then you have the same operand, except it's not inverted. So like, because like there's a flow between these two, because when you integrate the cosine, the first step, it becomes a sine, which is like the moment, and that flows into the future. And then when you integrate the sine, it flows back to the cosine because it's negative cosine. So that's kind of how, so it's just, and we saw that one was on one side, but I added I made it kind of philosophic with this explanation. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of write out what I wrote down. So you have like I, which equals square root -1. Oh, hold on. I want to write this at the top just so I have it here. How is it again? Plus, minus, minus, plus. Okay, so you have I, which is the number for imagination, which like is a representation to me of like, so it's mathematically how you represent imagination, creativity, and like clearly I got creative with this equation, but that's part of it. The imagination was part of how I came up with this. And it kind of clicked, and the imagination, like if you can imagine something, it potentially could happen in the future. So it's like where like smartphones kind of came from. It was in a sci-fi show, and then it became an everyday item. So you have like, this is the future's kind of all in your mind in a sense, and it becomes unraveled as the moment passes. The past is compressed and the future is encrypted. And this is kind of what I believe potentially the encryption key in a sense. Like, I'm not completely right, all of this. This is all to a degree. So this is how I wrote it out. Cosine sine first step, which this is the past, which is in turn the which is like the conscience. No, I don't know how to spell conscience. Consciousness. Like, it's like the past is kind of like what's pushing you forward. It's like your body, like your body is what moves you through to the moment. And like, so it's here. I was told that I should do a video on this. I So that's why I'm doing it. So it's like the scars remind us the past is real. The only reason why we have any concept of the past is because there's evidence of it. But the future, there's no evidence of the future. It kind of just happens. So there's a level of just kind of going with the flow that occurs. And okay, so this is the moment. The past becomes the future, which is the cosine plus I sine at the same step. So when this is at the same step, the moment is occurring. Like, this is all occurring at once, but when these two happen, it's all happening at once, but there's like a lag time to it. Like, it gets to one operand, and then like lags and kind of buffers, and then the next one starts, and they're all buffering together, which is why it's like encrypted that way. But like, it all goes through a filter, and that filter is like the inverter, and it's like your cosine. It's like this equation can also be applied to you and the universe, and it's like your filter to. Okay, so I wrote that filter that the past become the future is your soul. So it's like the way that you see the future is like through the filter of your past, and the way that you see. But the way you can change that is to have your filter be what you see in the future. Like your vision of you in 10 years, making those 5-year goals, doing all that stuff. But taking it the next step and saying, yes, I can do that. I've been through worse. There's been worse situations. I've been through more conflict and turmoil that, like, whatever plans I have for the 5-year mark are like easy to obtain. And it might not be, but it's with your intent of going into it with that confidence and that sense of almost bravado, I would say, that would allow you to be in the moment more and give you a stronger sense of who you are and accepting that. Another thing I wrote down is that this equation up here can also be used to represent other systems as well. Like you have C, and then minus plus C squared plus plus minus minus I square root c. So like this is the moment, it's the 1. Then we have c squared, which is the past, like we viewed the speed of light, or E equals mc squared, and like this is the future, like to a degree. And to a degree has like religious meaning to me, because I don't believe that any of this is profoundly, like it's only right to a degree. Like I hope that other people are able to kind of see their own truths within this, but like this is how it looks to me. And how it looks to me is like I personally like the way that this looks better than the calculus version, because it illustrates the flow that occurs like from the past to the moment to our reality. I feel is clearer with these operands, kind of how it's flowing. But the calculus version is where more people who understand the calculus can like verify its validity. And I've showed some people these operands that I created, and they thought they were pretty cool. So that's what I'm sharing with you today. Have a good one.